everybody, this is Matthew Movies coming at you with my review of The Lost Boys, the 1987 cult classic that I think is just absolutely fantastic. A very, very unique film. I mean, just the whole concept of a vampire movie with teenagers and youngins that I thought was very, very interesting. And the fact that it is based in the 80s and was released when I was a kid, it makes it very near and dear to my heart. And I was probably 6 or 7 when I saw this movie for the first time, and I gotta tell you, it was one of my favorite movies. My brothers and I used to watch it pretty much almost every day for the longest time. I even remember at one point I got out a ghetto blaster that I used to have and made an audio recording of it so that I could put it on while I was doing stuff in my room, like cleaning up or whatever, so I could just hear it and be able to visualize it in my head, because I'd seen the movie enough times that I would be able to know what was happening in that moment. That's just how much I like this movie growing up, and that has spread into my adult life. I mean, every time I see this movie, I'm like, haha, this movie's awesome. I mean, it's just such a great flick. I mean, I just don't know what to say about it other than the fact that I absolutely adore it. For those of you who haven't seen it, I mean, that's the central premise. It's vampires, but with teenagers. So instead of being the kind of Victorian vampires that we've seen with Dracula and so many movies that came before, this is a contemporary film when it came out. It lives in the culture of the 80s, and instead of being stodgy old folks that are the vampires, it's these teenagers that are, you know, partying up and having a good time, and they're, you know, rebellious teens, and they enjoy very much being vampires. This core group of vampires they get introduced to, I mean, they revel in their abilities, and I mean, the main character is played by Jason Patrick, who's this teenager who moves to this new community, and he's just kind of trying to find his way, and he comes across this group of guys who he thinks are just friends, and they indoctrinate him into their group, and he's excited that he's found somewhere to belong. But then as the film progresses, he finds out that he may not be as excited as he originally thought, because they're vampires, and they turn him into a vampire, and he is not comfortable with what he's become, and he doesn't want to be a vampire. He wants to heal himself, and he's the good guy vampire, and he has people that he cares about, including his little brother, who's played by Corey Haim, who is great in this movie. I mean, he has his reaction when he finds out that he's a vampire is hilarious, and just one of the best parts of this film, and the fact that he brings in this duo that are the Frog Brothers, one of whom is played by Corey Feldman, so it's a Corey film. And the three of them believe that they're going to take on these vampires and save the brother and save this beachside community from this violence that has kind of overcome it because of this group. I thought that whole thing was really well done, and you have Jamie Gertz, who is a teenager as well, and don't get me wrong, there are lots of actors in this movie that clearly weren't teens when this movie came out, but they're all playing characters who were teens, and Jamie Gertz, Jason Patrick are both examples. And she's in this film, and she's kind of the female lead. She's the romantic interest for Jason Patrick, and she's associated with the vampires because she has this kid that she kind of takes care of, who they turned into a vampire, and you find that out through the film. It is like a kid, like it's not a teenager, it's a kid, and you know, not a baby or anything like that, but you get what I'm saying. And so she has this interest in Jason Patrick, and she's not actually a vampire, but the two of them, they have this budding relationship that you come to care about. And I gotta tell you, when I was a kid, I had a gigantic crush on Jamie Gertz's character, and I thought she was just the absolute hottest girl out there, and I'm sure I'm far from the other one. Then like I said, you have the core group of vampires who are led by Kiefer Sutherland, who I think just does a great job in this movie. I mean, I'd say he's probably the most compelling character in the fact that he's not like so many other vampires where, you know, he's not you know, stodgy or he doesn't have errors to him. He is just there to have a great time, and he loves being a vampire. There are moments in this movie where you do actually see some legitimate gore. There's this fireside moment where this foursome of vampires go in and they kill this whole party of people, and there's several other vampire kills that are just kind of implied, where you see people that and they get attacked, kind of you don't really actually see any gore or violence, but in that one sequence where you really see what they're doing and the fact that he just absolutely loves it, you realize this is not a guy to trifle with, and the way in which he leads this group, and he is absolutely charismatic and magnetic in this role, and he makes this whole movie make sense. If he didn't give that level of a performance, if he wasn't somebody that throughout the beginning of the film you can completely understand why Jason Patric would want to curry favor with, this movie just would not work. And thankfully he absolutely does give that quality of a performance and really makes this movie what it is. Then you have Diane Wiest, who plays the mother of Corey Feldman, or Corey Haim I should say, and Jason Patric, and you have this kind of older dude that she becomes romantically linked to, and he comes off like a total nerd, and their little kind of budding relationship is really fun to watch on screen, and her just flabbergasted reactions to the things that her kids are doing, and the whole idea that she brings them to this kind of beachside community to try to get them to kind of calm down and be better behaved, I think totally works. And you have the grandfather of the family, who's this kind of eccentric old codger who is unlike, he's really pretty much unlike a character I've seen in almost any film. I mean, it just gave one of the more interesting elements of this film by far. I thought he was great, that he had his sense of humor is unique, and just, I mean, just a great part of this movie. And then there's moments that have always stuck to me. Like I already mentioned the aforementioned violence with the fireside party, but there's this moment early on where Jason Patric first has to come to terms with the fact that he's a vampire, where the five of them, they're hanging from this train track as this train goes by, and they're all holding on for dear life, and he's just absolutely terrified because they're they're underneath this bridge, and he thinks that if he falls he's going to die, but little does he know that he's actually become a vampire by this point, because he drank their blood without knowing it, thinking it was wine. But as the film progresses, the scene progresses, you have all the four vampires, and they're laughing it up, and as he's just terrified to his core, and one by one they drop off, and they kind of, Kiefer Sutherland's character reveals to him that maybe he doesn't have as much to be scared of as he thought. And when he eventually falls, the way that whole scene plays out, I thought it was just such a brilliantly put together moment to really encapsulate the way how they are as characters, the four of them, where they're these kind of adrenaline loving, fun loving vampires, and this whole idea of Jason Patric just being absolutely dropped into their world and being terrified of it. I mean, it just really encapsulates the core of this film. Such beautifully done. I mean, I love this movie so much, if you can't tell. And let me know in the comment section below what you think. If you loved it, if you hated it, if you've seen it, if you haven't seen it, whatever. Other than that, please hit that like button, hit that share button. It makes it much more likely that other people will come check this review out and let me know what they think, which would be awesome, because I love talking to people about movies. And speaking of which, if you are new here or you just haven't done it yet, please hit subscribe, hit that notification bell. That way you can find out when I put out a new video and come and check it out and give me your thoughts. Aside from all that though, have yourself a good day.